Hey guys, what's up? It's Ehren, Question Period Canada. So I've had a number of questions asked on the channel about platform of Poilievre. So we're gonna take a peek at Poilievre's platform, and we'll go from there.
Merci beaucoup, Anna.
Thank you, Anna.
Check that
Thank
out.
you, Anna.
Let's jump right in.
Thanks to the little girl from Pointe-aux-Trembles. I remember the first time I ever saw Anna. It was over 10
we
years
get to
ago.
know Poilievre
For a
pretty
few
well
seconds,
in this speech.
I could no longer breathe. Who is she? I wondered. A lot of people are asking themselves that very same question tonight. Who is this brilliant and beautiful Quebecer, and why is she with this Anglo who lost his glasses?
The day I knew she was the one was we were driving back from Montreal to Ottawa, and the under-engine cover had come off, and it was dragging like 1,000 fingernails on the highway.
It's pretty fun.
Dead of winter. We pulled into Herb's repair shop, and I went inside Herb's, and it was completely dark. And so I yelled, "Herb, Herb, Herb, Herb." Herb didn't come, so I went next door to the gas station, and they told me that Herb had been out of business for a long time. So then I returned to the car to find that Anna was underneath it, tying it back into place with her hair elastic. And it stayed in place all the way to the mechanic shop in Ottawa, where they told us we could just leave it that way because she had tied it so strongly. And that was when I realized that I was dating MacIver. But isn't that common sense? Common sense problem solving. La magie d'Anna. C'est la magie du Québec.
Anna's magic is the magic of Quebec and Canada, because her story is only possible here.
In this country that a Venezuelan refugee and the adopted son of school teachers could stand on the stage, the leading stage of Canada's oldest and biggest political party. Only here could that happen.
What do you think? Leave a comment.
Only in Canada. Only in Canada. Only in our country.
Come on. Yeah, our country. Come on.
Bring it home is right. Thank you. And I want to thank my own parents. It's because they made the decision to adopt me and worked hard in front of a classroom that I now stand proudly in front of this room. Thank you so much, Mom. Thank you, my mother.
What's extraordinary in this story is that it's ordinary. Where you're born doesn't determine where you'll go.
The promise of Canada was that a kid could start anywhere and get anywhere.
Right.
Hard work used to get you a powerful paycheck that bought you good food and a decent home and retirement in a safe neighborhood and a free country. And every generation was just a little bit better off than their parents. That was the promise of Canada. And that is the most important promise Justin Trudeau broke. You see, because politicians often break their own promises, but this is different. This promise didn't belong to him. This promise belonged to all of us. But my friends, it is a promise that Canada kept for me, and it is a promise that I will restore for all of Canada after the next election. Now, we don't know when that election will be, but when it comes, Canadians will have only two options: a common-sense conservative government that frees hardworking people to earn powerful paychecks that buy affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods, or a reckless coalition of Trudeau and the NDP that punishes your work, takes your money, taxes your food, doubles your housing bill, and unleashes crime and chaos in your neighborhood. Laissez-moi répéter.
Let me repeat that. The choice is either a common-sense conservative government that frees hardworking people to earn powerful paychecks, that buy affordable food, gas, and homes in safe communities, or Justin Trudeau and the Bloc that punish you for working, take your money, tax your food, and double your housing bill. And let's be clear, many of these policies are made available thanks to the support of the Bloc. If Quebecers want to get rid of Justin Trudeau for good, only the Conservative Party can replace him for real. So it's a choice between a country where people who work hard can make their dreams come true, or a country where a government splits people, divides them between good and bad. A government that gets involved in everything but doesn't get good at anything.
Smarts, not based on entitlement or inheritance. Speaking of inheritance, no, I'm not talking about Justin Trudeau's family fortune, which he hid out in a tax-protected trust fund. I'm talking about the country that he inherited. Did any prime minister ever inherit a richer legacy? Did any prime minister ever squander it so thoroughly? Think back to how we lived when Justin Trudeau was elected. No, really, think. Interest rates and inflation were rock bottom. Taxes were falling faster than at any time in Canadian history. The New York Times had calculated that Canada's middle class, for the first time ever, was richer than America's middle class. Thank you, Stephen Harper.
One time. Middle class is a thing of the past, I guess.
The budget was balanced. Thank you again, Stephen Harper.
The good old days,
Crime
I guess.
had fallen by 25%. So low
they weren't good at the end.
that small-town folks often left their doors unlocked. Our borders were secure. Housing costs were half of what they are today. Take-home pay had jumped 10% after tax and inflation. All this despite a once-in-a-lifetime financial crisis in the U.S. and wars in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and yes, Ukraine. Funny how when Stephen Harper was Prime Minister, none of those wars caused inflation in Canada, right? Yes, when Justin Trudeau took over, Canada was rich, affordable, and safe. And he promised that if he had a big government that took more power and more money, he would change everything. And boy, did he ever. That is the only promise that he kept. So what has changed? What has changed? 8 years later, inflation, after already hitting a 40-year high, is back on the rise again. And the economy is shrinking. GDP per capita is actually smaller today than it was 6 years ago, and Canada's growth is now projected to be the worst in the entire OECD, not just for the next 6 years, but for the next 3 decades. Housing costs have more than doubled after Trudeau promised to lower them. It takes 25 years now in Toronto to save up for a down payment. Do you remember when you used to pay off the entire mortgage in 25 years? Some families have to stretch their mortgage out 90 years now, which means that they will have to live to be 120 to ever be mortgage free. Under Trudeau, Canadian homes cost over 50% more than U.S. homes, and you can now buy a castle in Sweden for a lower price than a 2-bedroom in Kitchener. It's almost incredible to say these things, isn't it? But this is life after 8 years of Trudeau. Toronto is now ranked the world's worst housing bubble, and Vancouver is the third most unaffordable housing market in the world. Worse than New York City, worse than London, England, worse than Singapore, a tiny island with 2,000 times more people per square kilometer than Canada. Meanwhile, Trudeau's carbon taxes forced 1.5 million people to food banks, and it caused a fifth of all people to skip meals. Les aînés vont devoir couper dans leur repas pour payer la taxe Blanchette.
Seniors will have to cut down on how much they eat to pay for the Blanchette-Trudeau tax. And there's a new tax on energy that they want to radically increase. That's what they're saying. Yes, it costs a lot of money to vote for the Bloc.
The Bloc is expensive. It just is. It's an expensive
And
vote.
amazingly, Trudeau has doubled our national debt, added more debt than all 22 prior prime ministers combined. And just to end the suspense, the budget has not balanced itself.
It's not going to. The budget doesn't balance itself, right?
Shootings, gang killings, overdose deaths have all doubled. Trudeau is spent, and Canada is broke, or broken. Now, he's objected to that term before, but actually, he agrees with it. Justin Trudeau and I agree that things are broken. We just disagree on what and who broke it. You see, he blames the country itself. He blames Canada. He says our country has no core identity. By the way, my daughter keeps heckling me over there. She does this at home all the time. She's preparing to be a member of Parliament, so... Mr. Trudeau says that Canada has no core identity and that it's not the best country in the world. What kind of prime minister, after 8 years of leading a country, would say that it's not the best country in the world? And what does that say about how he's been governing it? J'ai été très soulagé.
I was really relieved to come to Quebec and see that the fabulous city Justin Trudeau took out of our passports still exists to this day. Yes.
Le Québec existe toujours.
Quebec still exists, yes. He's ashamed. He's ashamed of our heritage and our history. And that's why Justin Trudeau took out the Royal 22nd Regiment from our passports, as well as other parts of our history, like Vimy Ridge. He said we didn't have an identity as a country.
History, erasing it from our passports. Our great military triumphs, gone. The famous 5 who secured women's rights, gone. Even Terry Fox had to go. Why? Because there can be no heroes but him. So he replaced these images in our passport with an image of himself swimming as a boy at Harrington Lake and pictures of snowflakes in honor of members of his Liberal cabinet.
What do you think of the show so far? Leave a comment. Seriously.
You know, this business of deleting our past must end. And this is a matter on which English Canada must start to learn from Quebec. Quebecers, and I'm saying this deliberately in English, do not apologize for their culture, their language, and their history. They celebrate it, and all Canadians should do the same. Vive le Québec! Vive la nation québécoise! Vive la nation québécoise!
Long live Quebec, and Quebec's nation.
Les Québécois se battent pour préserver leur langue et
Quebecers are
leur
fighting to
culture.
keep their language and their
Mon père,
culture. My
qui a des
father,
origines
who
canadiennes-françaises,
was French-Canadian,
me promettait que le Père
promised me
Noël allait être
that
plus
Santa
généreux
Claus
si
would be
j'étais
more
capable
generous
de
if I was
rédiger
able
mes
to write
listes
down
de
my
souhaits en
wish list
français.
in French.
Mais malgré ça, j'avais
Despite
perdu
that,
mon français pendant
I'd
mon
lost the
adolescence
ability
à
to
Calgary.
speak French
How's your
during
French? chaque
my
jour.
teenage years
I
in
took a
Calgary.
French
And
course last year.
every
Mine's
day
not
I
too
try to
bad.
improve
Qu'Anna et
my
moi
French. And that's why
sommes
Anna and I
déterminés
are
It's not good.
à
determined
parler
to
français
speak
à nos
French to
enfants,
our
à
children
les
and
envoyer
send
à
them
l'école
to
en
French
français.
school.
C'est aussi
I can understand him. I can understand what he's saying. Oh,
C'est aussi
It's
pourquoi
also why
j'ai voté
I
fièrement à la
voted
Chambre
in the
des
House of
communes pour une
Commons
motion
quite proudly for a
conservatrice
conservative
pour
motion
reconnaître
Very
la
much in
grande
English.
nation
recognize the great
québécoise.
Quebec nation.
Et c'est pour ça que je
And
serai
that's
toujours
why
un
I
allié
will
du Québec,
always be an ally
du
for
peuple
Quebec,
acadien
for the
et de
Acadian
tous les
people, and for
francophones à
all
travers le
francophones
pays.
across the country.
Oui,
Yes,
it's fun.
un plus petit
A
gouvernement
smaller
central
central
fera la
government
place pour un plus grand
will make
Québec
way
et
for a
des
greater
plus grands
Quebec
Québécois.
and better Quebecers.
How do you feel about the Black Quebecois?
But what is
How do you
worse
feel
than what Justin Trudeau thinks about Canada, it's what he thinks of Canadians. He calls them small, fringe, and angry. Recently in Charlottetown, he said everybody needs to stop picking on him because, quote, it's a really tough time to be a politician. Does anybody have a violin? No, Mr. Trudeau. It's a really tough time to be the 74-year-old truck driver I met door knocking in Bowmanville, who just got his eviction notice despite always paying his rent on time. Finding another place will cost him $700 extra per month. He doesn't have $700 extra. So his choice now is to go to his full-grown daughter, his little girl, and ask to live in her basement or become homeless. I didn't know what to say to him. What is he supposed to do? Go back to driving a truck 70 hours a week? He's 74 years old. His back can't take that. But I didn't see anger in his eyes. I saw fear. Mr. Trudeau,
I'm scared
if you
about
think
the
life is tough for
finances
you,
these days. It's tough.
you should meet the carpenter I
Really
met
is.
at a Tim Hortons in the Sioux, who lives in a parking lot because he can't afford the rent. He wasn't angry either. But I was angry for him because an economy where the people who build our homes cannot afford to live in them is fundamentally unjust and wrong.
La famille qui a vu ses paiements
The family that saw its mortgage payments increase by $1,000 a month, that family's not angry. They're just afraid that they won't be able to keep their family
The Prime
home.
Minister thinks he has it tough. He should talk to our youth. Almost all of them. Almost all of them. We have youth here today, right? Yes, we do.
I can't imagine being youthful like anymore. Like, and the
Almost
age of
all the
having
young
hope.
people I meet these days, they
Been
have
so
two
dark.
jobs, sometimes three. Not to save up for a home, they've long ago given up on that goal, but just to
Oof.
avoid getting evicted. They'd love to have kids, but they're running out of time and there's nowhere to put them in their $1,500 a month studio apartment. 8 years ago, their eyes beamed with possibility. Now they have big black bags under their eyes
true.
as they drop off
true.
another midnight Uber Eats delivery, their third job. Mr. Prime Minister, our youth are not angry. They're too exhausted to be angry. He should meet the mom who broke down and told the cashier at the grocery store that all that she can afford is the half-price chicken that is past expiry, which gives her family food poisoning. And the cashier said, "I can relate. I live in a tent." It's not anger in their voice, Mr. Prime Minister. It's anxiety. They can't sleep at night because they don't know what they're going to feed their children in the morning. If Mr. Trudeau thinks politicians have it tough, he should meet the veterans that asked his department for help with post-traumatic stress, and they were told to consider instead medical assistance in dying. Remember, this is the Prime Minister who famously told our veterans that they were asking for more than he could give. These soldiers and veterans are not angry either. They are heartbroken that the freedoms they fought for abroad are not respected or repaid here at home. For our veterans, for our veterans, for our veterans.
Come on.
And instead of apologizing to these people for the hell he's put them through, Mr. Trudeau instead calls them names. He wants Canadians to blame each other and not him. He divides divides to distract using race, religion, region, sexuality. He thinks that if you're afraid of your neighbor, you'll forget that you can't afford your groceries. You see, Mr. Trudeau and I agree that things are broken. We just disagree on what's broken and who broke it. He thinks the people are the problem. Canadians know he is the problem.
Do you feel like you're the problem or you're being mismanaged? Because I don't feel like I'm a part of the problem. I pay my stuff. I will continue to do that, but
we
just
won't
really
let him divide us anymore. We won't let him put our country and its people down to push himself up. Canadians are not small or angry. They are big, generous people. They deserve better than this. They no longer have to give up the things that we used to take for granted, affordable homes and foods, to pay for the incompetence and ego of one man. After 8 years, Justin Trudeau is not worth the cost, and he is not worth the country that we know and that we love.
I just want change. I don't want it to be like this. I'm not one side or the other. I just know this isn't working for any of us.
The thing is, we know what the problem is.
Like, it's so bad.
And we know it can be fixed. Because life wasn't like this before Trudeau, and it won't be like this after he's gone, which proves that we can turn the hurt into hope. Ladies and gentlemen, we will do this with a Prime Minister that unites all of our people, that casts aside the things that divide us and focuses instead on the things that we have in common. A Prime Minister that opens his arms and wraps them around every single Canadian, every region, with every story, because we have one common future that we share together, right? But to get on with the future, you have to have a to-do list. And the first thing on my to-do list is to axe the tax, to bring home lower prices. Axe the tax. Axe the tax. Axe the tax. Axe the tax. On va abolir la taxe Blanchette Trudeau. The carbon tax is not just a tax on gas and heat, it's a tax on food. After all, if you tax the farmer who makes the food and the trucker who ships the food, then you tax all who buy the food. And now Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh want to quadruple the tax to 61 cents a litre.
How would we ever be able to afford that?
Forcing seniors to choose between eating and heating.
How are we going to heat
C'est une
your
nouvelle
house?
taxe fédérale.
It's a new federal tax. This is added onto all of the other taxes that already exist, that have been put in place by Justin Trudeau. But what is the Bloc saying? It's supporting. Yes, but there is a single bone of contention.
I still haven't turned on the heat because I
Believes that
can't
the
afford
tax
it.
should be radically increased. It should be radically increased.
We
We knew
less
that
than
it
it
was
used to.
going to be expensive to vote for the Bloc, but let's
I'm
be
not
clear, the
starving,
Bloc
but
wants
I
to
want.
take the money off Quebecers and to give it to the federal government. This Trudeau
I
Blanchet
just worry about the other
tax
families.
tax
That's all.
on
Like,
the gas used by farmers who grow food and the truckers who transport the food. So it's a tax on all of those who buy food.
C'est une taxe sur les travailleurs et les propriétaires des petites entreprises dans les banlieues et dans les régions qui ont besoin de leurs camions pour travailler. J'ai un message pour M. Blanchet et M. Trudeau. Dans les régions, les gens ont besoin de leurs camions et leurs voitures pour leur quotidien et vous n'avez pas le droit de piger dans leur poche encore. Je vais non seulement abolir la taxe Blanchet-Trudeau, mais je vais mettre fin à la guerre contre l'auto. C'est ça le gros bon sens.
Do you guys like Pierre Poilievre?
There's a second tax I'll get rid of. The inflation tax.
Or are you just a
yes,
conservative?
Inflation
Or do you believe in this
is
guy?
a tax. When
He seems
governments print
talented to
money
me.
to fund their
I don't know.
spending, they raise prices. Now, normally with a tax increase, you have to have a vote in the House of Commons to change the law, raising a rate or introducing a new tax, a new levy. That is a rule that has lived for 800 years since the Magna Carta required the Crown get the consent of the people before taking their money. But politicians have since that time found a sly way around the rule. Instead of passing a law to raise the tax and being held accountable for it by the people who pay the tax, they just get their central banks to create more money. And that money, of course, goes into the economy and bids up prices. It is a sneaky tax because politicians don't have to vote on it. But it's also an immoral tax because it steals from the senior savings, the workers' paychecks, and takes food from the mouths of the working poor. It is a silent thief, quietly picking the pockets of the poor. It is there, pulling money out of the wallet of the elderly grandmother as her $100 all of a sudden only buys $80 of groceries. And there it is again, the thief, reaching into the bank account of the young family who now has to wait 25 years to save up for a down payment. The radical money printing deficits of Justin Trudeau, funded with newly created cash, caused the money supply to grow in coins, bills, and bank deposits from $1.8 trillion to $2.4 trillion. A mind-blowing 32% increase in the supply of money while the economy grew by 4%. In other words, the amount of money grew 8 times faster than the stuff that money buys, which bid up the cost of everything. And now Trudeau forces the same people who suffer from his inflation to pay higher interest rates to stop it. Recently, former Liberal Finance Minister John Manley said Trudeau's deficits were pressing on the inflationary gas pedal, which forces the Bank of Canada to press on the brakes with higher interest rates. These higher rates now collide with the very over-indebted families who the government encouraged to take on overpriced mortgages to buy overly expensive homes. Time is running out for these families. If rates rise before these families renew their mortgages, they will lose their homes. My common sense plan cuts waste and caps spending to bring down inflationary deficits and interest rates so Canadians can keep their homes. Here's how we'll do it. When I'm Prime Minister, we'll adopt a dollar-for-dollar law. It works the same way you run your personal finances at your household, the way single moms and small businesses budget. When they increase over here, they decrease over there to pay for it. So this is appealing, not just to the common sense of people managing their household budgets, but to the basic reality of economics as described by the great Thomas Sowell, who said the first law of economics is scarcity. People always want more than there is to have. And the first rule of politics is to ignore the first rule of economics. But we're going to bring that rule inside government. Every time a politician has a bright idea to spend money, he will be forced to root out waste in his own department to pay for it, rather than just passing the bill on to you in higher inflation, taxes, or debt. Speaking of waste, we will cut waste. We will get rid of the wasteful and pointless $54 million ArriveCan app.
Did you know about the ArriveCan app?
It's funny, a couple of IT workers, as a gag, decided to see if they could design the ArriveCan app from scratch. And they managed to do it in a weekend, and it didn't cost $54 million. My suggestion is that they send that app to Trudeau and call it the ResignCan app.
That's pretty funny.
We'll end the $35 billion infrastructure bank that, despite paying bonuses to executives, has not completed a single solitary project yet. We will stop giving money to foreign dictators and global bureaucracies like the Beijing-controlled Asian Infrastructure Bank.
That'd be nice. Like, save a little bit of money there.
Trudeau gave the Asian Infrastructure Bank $250 million of your tax dollars to build the same pipelines and highways over there that we can't build over here. When I'm Prime Minister, there will be no more of our money going out of this country to most multinational bureaucracies that are corrupt or foreign dictators. We will bring home our money for our people in this country.
It sounds good to me. That sounds good to me.
We will end bonuses for incompetent government executives and central bankers who fail to do their jobs. And nous n'allons plus financer les dépassements.
We will no longer finance the cost overruns of the private sectors and other levels of government. If the other governments aren't able to manage their budgets, they will have to find the money. We will no longer give the responsibility over to the taxpayers. They already pay too much.
It's informative. It's fun. Canadian
we're going to
politics.
Restore and enforce the low inflation mandate that Brian Mulroney legislated into place in the early 90s. It will mean the Bank of Canada, once again, will have only one job, and that is to keep inflation low for Canadians.
Inflation, guys. Boo. So tough.
You know, it's funny that balancing the budget to keep inflation and interest rates low was the unanimous policy of all the major political parties at all levels of government for 30 years, right up to the radical departure under Mr. Budget's balance themselves. Think about it. Mulroney, in fairness, Questionne, Martin, Harper, even NDP provincial governments believed that budgets needed to be balanced, not for the accountants, but to protect future funding for our schools, hospitals, and roads. That common sense consensus drove down debt, inflation, unemployment, while growth rocketed up to quarter-century highs. And many common-sense grassroots liberals and New Democrats still believe it today, even if their out-of-touch leaders do not. Ici, même au Québec, sous le leadership de,
but even in Quebec, under the leadership of, let's say, Lucien Bouchard, a sovereigntist, they have balanced the budgets in order to maintain social programs. And the time has come to restore this consensus that is based on common sense.
Pretty good speech, yeah.
Vanquish inflation and to protect our future.
Even if you're not a Poiliev fan,
we should create more of what
put together piece of material,
grow more food,
I don't know.
build more homes, and produce
I'm
more
not necessarily
resources
a fan
right
of
here in
Poiliev,
Canada.
but he's getting me on board. Like, some good ideas, it would seem. It's been a bad couple of years. We need change. It's funny.
So let's start with homes.
Do you think it's funny?
Let's start with homes. Thank you. We've got a very excited group over there. Those are my friends from Brampton up there. Good to see you, Bob and friends. We need homes in Brampton. We need homes everywhere. We need to stop printing money and start building those homes. L'accès au logement. Après 8 ans de
Access
Justin
to
Trudeau,
housing after 8 years of Justin Trudeau
dégénère.
is falling apart. In fact, we could even say that it is a degeneration, falling apart, just like the song Mes aïeux, my ancestors, which is what about you? You no longer know what you're going to do. In your little 3.5, which is much too expensive, and it's cold in the winter. And sometimes you want to become an owner. And one day you dream that you'll have your little small plot of land, right? Just a little plot of land. Just a very small plot of land.
Gros bon sens, gros bon sens, gros bon sens, gros bon sens.
It's common sense. It's just common sense.
C'est une belle mélodie.
And it's a beautiful tune.
Dégénération.
All about degeneration. But why just a little plot of land? That's the least of the things that we could hope for if you work hard. And since we have so many empty lands here in Canada, just anybody should be able to buy a house. In fact, this should be the least expensive place to buy a house.
Land mass. This should be the cheapest place in the world to own a home. In fact, there are only 4 countries on planet Earth that have more land per capita than we do. So with all this land, why is it that we have the fewest homes per capita in the G7? Well, the answer is that we built fewer homes last year than we did in 1972.
Do you think that's true?
Our population has doubled, and we're building fewer homes.
Where are the people going?
Now, let's figure out why that is. What do you think is the most expensive thing that goes into building a new home in, say, Vancouver? Labor? Lumber? Land? Nope. Government. And we know this because C.D. Howe did a study where they compared the cost of materials, labor, land, and profit to the final sale price. And there was a $1.3 million gap between them. In Toronto, it was $350,000. That gap is the taxes, the delays, the consultants, the lawyers, the charges, the fees, the zoning changes. On and on it goes. These costs drive up the price of Canadians to buy a home. Canada has the 2nd slowest building permits in the OECD. The UK and US offer building permits 3 times faster without compromising safety.
How can that possibly be?
Une autre étude montre que l'hôtel de ville à Montréal.
Another study shows that Montreal City Hall has prevented the construction of 24,000 new houses and apartments.
By the courts because they blocked 2,000 homes right next to a transit station that was built specifically for those homes. And what is Trudeau's response? He gives these local bureaucracies more money to build themselves up and block homes. He has not built homes. He's built bureaucracy. Now, at a federal level, he's built up a bureaucracy at the CMHC that slows down financing for the builders of affordable apartment units. All of the while we have a homelessness problem. When I'm Prime Minister, my government will stop giving tax dollars to gatekeepers.
this is a pretty good speech. I'm not a Poilievre fan. Like, I'm not a... It's interesting.
My common sense plan is to have a new funding formula that links the number of federal dollars cities get for infrastructure to the number of houses they allow to be completed. More specifically, we will require big cities permit 15% more home building per year or lose federal infrastructure money. Pas de logement, pas d'argent fédéral. 2, those that beat the 15% target will get a building bonus, right? Incentives work, and we will pay for results, for roofs over heads and keys and doors.
Bonus is so much better than a rebate.
I'm going to pay for results. I'm not paying for promises.
Federal funds for transit stations, cities will be required to permit new high-rise apartments all around future transit stations that are funded by the federal government so that our seniors and our students can live right next to the bus and train. And I will sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land so that we can build. Bring it home. You know, it just warms my heart to think of the beautiful family rolling up in their U-Haul to their wonderful new home in the former headquarters of the CBC.
It's pretty funny, too, making fun of the CBC. Easy target, I guess, but still pretty funny, I think.
Less bureaucracy, more houses.
Canadians have powerful paychecks to pay the rent and mortgages. We will liberate the mighty strength and smarts of our workers to make more of what we need. We will honor hard work in this country. And that's about more than money.
No problem.
Work brings dollars and dignity, paychecks and purpose, burdens and blessings, a good living and a good life. But today, there's a war on work, with taxes that punish earners and gatekeepers that block jobs. Every time a worker turns around, he's punished for doing the right thing. You make it, Trudeau takes it. Oh, you want to take an extra shift? They claw back your child benefit.
Every week.
You get a bonus. They bump you into a higher tax bracket and take away your reward. You're on disability. You want to get a job? They take away your medication. You're an immigrant doctor. Forget it. You're stuck on minimum wage with no way to prove your qualifications. A single mother in Ontario earning $50,000 a year who goes out and earns another dollar loses 96 cents to clawbacks from the federal, provincial, and municipal governments. Une mère monoparentale au Québec pourrait perdre.
A single mother in Quebec could lose
I don't mean to be frustrated
on
like
the
this,
next dollar that she earns.
But I am.
Marginal effective tax rate, or meter. You've heard of a parking meter, right? You pay to park. A work meter is when you pay to work. Right? No good deed goes unpunished. Ça me rappelle de l'histoire du garçon qui demande.
That reminds me of the story of the little boy who asked his
dad,
Daddy, what's a tax return?
That used to be a funny expression to me. No good deed goes unpunished.
That is, when you work well, then you're punished.
You're no different than I am. But we're way more broke than we used to be.
A tax form is the opposite of your childhood report card. The better you do, the more you get punished, right? But it's not just a matter of money. It's a matter of hope. When people find that no matter how hard they try, they get nowhere, they say, what's the point? They can't move forward. In fact, they can't even see forward. Humans need to progress towards an achievable goal. They need to feel valued and valuable. Le travail, c'est plus que gagner sa vie.
Work is more than simply earning a living. Work leads to an important life. And my plan will reduce taxes so that work once again becomes valuable.
Cuts income taxes so that you bring home more of each dollar you earn, and hard work once again pays off in this country. Bring it home. But in order to bring home a paycheck, you first have to have a job. And that's why we will cut taxes and red tape to bring home our businesses, our money, and our jobs to Canada. We will work with the provinces to create a merit-based blue seal qualification system so that immigrant professionals, like the 20,000 immigrant doctors and 32,000 immigrant nurses currently banned from working, can take an exam, prove they are qualified, and if they are, get to work earning powerful paychecks, reducing wait times in our hospitals.
Do you know how hard it is to get a family doctor if you don't have one? I waited over 2 years to get a family doctor.
And without apology, we will bring home our energy and resource jobs to this country.
We have so many resources and wonderful people.
Absolutely.
It would seem like we just have bad management. That's how it feels.
Canada has the know-how to unlock the massive energy in our waters, our rocks, and even our atoms. Yet the Trudeau government has blocked, in different ways, almost every form of energy we have. Yes, we all know that they shamefully killed pipelines in favor of foreign dictator oil, but it's not just oil. When the Germans and the Japanese came knocking, asking for our natural gas so that they could break their dependence on Putin, Trudeau said, "No, go call the Kremlin. There's no business case." Well, apparently nobody told the Americans that there's no business case. They built 6 liquefaction facilities. No one told the Qataris they more than doubled their production. No one told the Germans, who took a natural gas liquefaction facility from concept to completion in 194 days. And yet, Justin Trudeau has blocked the completion of all 18 natural gas liquefaction plants that we had proposed when he took office. And this is crazy. We have 1.3 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. And we can liquefy it with 25% less energy. Why? Because of our cold weather. It makes it cheaper to liquefy gas here than in the United States. It's cold in Canada. It was so cold in Ottawa last winter, Justin Trudeau was seen with his hands in his own pockets.
I can't turn my heat on, though. I can't afford it. Last year, I made it till November 7th.
His environment minister has protested against nuclear power, and his fisheries department blocked Nova Scotia from developing zero emissions tidal power from the oceans. And what has all this done for the environment? Nothing. With all these taxes and all these gatekeepers, Canada has missed every single emissions target and now ranks 58th out of 63 in combating the real problem of climate change. The International Energy Agency says the world will be using 50 million barrels of oil every single day for the next 20 years.
Do you think?
And that's under the most restrictive scenarios. And Trudeau and the NDP want that oil to come from polluting tyrants like Iran and Venezuela. I believe that the country that invented the Canadarm and insulin can produce these barrels cleaner and greener than any other country on earth.
We are. That's the thing. I'm frustrated with the government, but I love my people. Like when I go to the grocery store, all I see are people that I love, and like people that I don't know, but I know that I love all the immigrants, everybody that's new to this. I love all those people. But these financial times, whew,
my common sense plan repeals the anti-resource law, Bill C-69, and replaces it with a law that will protect our environment, consult First Nations, but get projects approved in 12 months, not 12 years. We will support Newfoundland's plan to double its energy production, ending the need for overseas dictator oil being imported to our country altogether. We will massively increase production of emissions-free energy by green-lighting green projects like zero-emitting, small modular nuclear reactors.
This is a great idea. Imagine if we got our power from nuclear energy that was safe, which It's available.
So that New Brunswick, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Alberta can have this clean energy. And carbon capture and storage will make our oil sands the world's lowest emitting. We will approve more hydro dams and tidal wave power to turn water and gravity into lightning. We will grant permits for natural gas plants to safely ship it off to replace dirty coal in Asia and to break European dependence on Putin.
We really do have more resources, and just our people are something special. Why is it like this?
We will harvest the minerals of electrification from our mines using our workers rather than importing them from Justin Trudeau's favorite coal-burning dictatorship.
They use a lot of coal in China.
It's
okay,
and I know in Quebec, hydropower rhymes with pride. And that is true because Quebec has genius in building dams worldwide, and it's recognized. And Quebec needs 100 additional terawatt-hours by 2050 in order to meet with the increasing energy need. That represents a 50% increase in current production. In order to fight the true problem of climate change, we need more hydropower and quickly. My common sense plan uses technology and not taxes by inciting companies to reduce their emissions, by greenlighting green projects such as dams and wind power. Let's put an end to all of these increased studies and obstacles on a federal level by producing minerals here, not importing these by China. And that's our choice. Blanchard and Trudeau want to radically increase the price of traditional energy, but I want to reduce the price of green energy. They're opting for taxes. I'm opting for technology. They are choosing to send our money to foreign dictators. What I'm choosing to do is to work with Canadian workers.
It's a pretty good speech,
right? So here's the choice between the costly coalition and my common sense plan. They choose taxes, I choose technology. They push up prices of traditional energy we still need. I'll push down prices of carbon-free alternatives. They put stop signs in front of our workers. I will green-light green projects, and most important, they send dollars to dictators. I will bring home paychecks to our people in this country.
Make it happen. Make it happen. That'd be great.
Bring it home. Bring it home. And speaking of home, home will be safe again. As a result of Trudeau's catch-and-release policies, crime, chaos, drugs,
I had
and
hope
disorder
for Trudeau, man. I had hope back in the day. I voted for him in 2015.
His catch-and-release bail law, C-75, allows a thug to assault an elderly woman in the morning and be out on bail by noon to do it all over again. After the law passed, Vancouver police had to arrest the same 6,000 criminals. I'll start again. It's so baffling that it's hard to actually appreciate the numbers. They had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times in a year. That's 150 arrests per criminal per year. The good news is we don't have a lot of criminals in Canada. The bad news is they're very productive. So if you put those highly prolific criminals in jail, you'll have less crime. Now, Liberals and New Democrats say this is so simplistic and you'll have to build all these jails. The funny thing is, when we did it under the previous Conservative government, not only did we bring crime down by 25%, incarceration rates actually fell. Why? Because we targeted the worst offenders and we scared all the other potential offenders away. So we had so much less crime, we actually needed less prison space. It's common sense, my friends.
Common sense, I guess. It's not that common.
Le Bloc a voté en faveur
The Bloc
de ce
voted
projet de loi de
for this
libération
bill
rapide et
for
récidivistes
quick release
violents,
and repeat
tout
of
en
offenders,
appuyant
all the while
l'interdiction des armes
supporting
de chasse.
the
J'ai un
banning of
message pour
hunting rifles. I
Yves-François
have a message
Blanchet.
for
Ce n'est
Yves-François
pas le
Blanchet.
chasseur
It's not
de
the hunter
Saguenay
in the
qui
Saguenay
cause la
region
criminalité
who's responsible
au
for the
centre-ville de
crime taking
Montréal.
place in
Ce sont
downtown
les
Montreal.
criminels que vous voulez
It's the
libérer
repeat
qui ont
offenders that
causé
you want to
ce
liberate
crime.
who
I have a message for
have committed
Justin
these
Trudeau.
crimes.
It's not the hunter in Labrador that's shooting up downtown Toronto. It's the criminals you keep releasing. Let's leave our hunters alone and respect our lawful and law-abiding firearms owners.
Let's get some likes going. Kilo thinks we don't have enough likes. Let's get them going. This has been a pretty fun speech, right? Like, I've had fun. I hope you have. Get the likes going. Again.
So my common sense plan is jail and not bail. Jail and not bail for repeat violent offenders. We'll reverse bans on hunters and licensed sport shooters, and we'll use that money to jail gangsters and bolster borders against illegal drugs and guns from the United States. And we will give treatment, not decriminalized and tax-funded drugs, to addicts. We will bring home our loved ones drug-free once again.
I'm just trying to put stuff that people want to see out there. I'm not used to.
And using the dollar-for-dollar principle, we will pay for it by suing and collecting hundreds of millions or billions of dollars from the corrupt pharmaceutical companies that profited by lying about the dangers and addictiveness of the opioids that have caused this hell on our streets.
Thank you, Salmay. Thank you.
We will bring home our loved ones drug-free, and we will bring home safety again to our streets. The safety of our country in a dangerous world depends not on attending yet another gab fest at the UN or, God forbid, Davos. Nor do we secure Canada by sending more and more aid to foreign dictators. It is by standing on guard for our country and rebuilding our military at home that we protect our country.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
This is a good speech. I think
Give it up for our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and veterans.
Yes. Yeah. We're talking about our people. Those are the real people. The most important people.
We'll take resources from back office bureaucracy and incompetent procurement and put it on the front lines to rebuild our military and honor the brave men and women who protect our freedom. But they didn't fight for our freedom abroad so the Prime Minister could take it away at home. He said he admires the dictators in Cuba and Beijing. His radical censorship laws, which Margaret Atwood called creeping totalitarianism, and which make news disappear from social media, violate our constitutional freedom of expression. We will repeal Justin Trudeau's censorship laws and restore freedom of speech on campus, online, and everywhere in Canada.
It was a pretty good speech, and this feels kind of like the end, like it's building towards the end. So thank you so much for all for watching. I feel a little more informed.
We will enact a foreign influence registry to expose those paid by foreign dictatorships to interfere in our democracy. And we will shut down foreign-controlled police stations. No sovereign country should ever let a foreign dictatorship run police stations on its soil.
He's a really fun one to watch, I'll admit that. But I'll bring other people too, because he's not the only candidate that will be running. Maybe some information on who's going to be the next
We will bring home control of our democracy, give people back control of their lives, and make Canada once again the freest nation on earth.
I love you guys. I love Canadians. I'm very patriotic. I do care about my country and my fellow citizens very much. I put my head down for a couple of years, didn't pay attention to politics, looked back up and it was all messed up. And I did. I voted for Trudeau's government in 2015. I'm embarrassed.
Freedom used to be uncontroversial.
At the time then.
Freedom was part of the Canadian consensus. Liberals believed in liberty, conservatives believed in conserving it. Today's liberals run down freedom so that they can justify taking it away. So often today, we hear that we can't allow freedom, that we need bureaucrats and experts to dictate what ordinary people can hear and say, because ordinary people, in quotation marks, can't make their own decisions. But let me tell you, my friends, I've met these so-called ordinary people, and they are not ordinary. They are extraordinary. And they have the common sense of the common people to make their own decisions and be masters in their country. Que monsieur et madame tout le monde ont
besoin du ordinary men and women need the government to make decisions on their behalf. That's just not true.
Fun here with you guys.
If you want to see kindness, greatness,
and the speech is kind of
genius.
Hope.
Don't
can't
look
always
at those
be bad. Can't
at
always
the top.
be like this.
Rather, look around you.
It's going to have to turn around at some point, right?
You know, we call them ordinary people, but they are not ordinary. They are extraordinary. The single mom who works standing up all day long and comes home exhausted and teaches math to her children and balances her household budget with minimum wage. She is not ordinary, dear friends. She is extraordinary.
Can't afford any green. It's tough. Wheat is cheap these days. It seems.
And the farmer who's able to work with science,
I do like you guys.
the
It's
soil,
very nice to
and storms.
interact.
In order to bring food from his field to your plate is not ordinary. He's extraordinary. The electrician who's able to capture lightning and bring it through copper wire
rare it
to bring us
actually
lighting.
is.
He is not
The wrong
ordinary.
phrase. It's
He is extraordinary.
conundrum
friends,
because it's not.
These people are supposed to be masters of their own domain, even though they are not famous. When they die, their names won't make any headlines. Nobody will be speaking about them at the House of Commons. They will go without fanfare.
Let's get some lights going. Let's get some
And
lights.
they have raised their families, and they have supported their communities and their nation, and they have carried them all on their own shoulders. True goodness, true greatness, true genius. It's those people. This is our raison d'être, and we need to turn them into our champions with their common sense, which are all united a single ideal that is Canada, our home.
I promise that I'm trying really hard and doing the research, trying to make it as educational and entertainment value at the same time as possible. It's a great. That's why you should subscribe. I'm working on it.
Yet these extraordinary people
Trying to make something that
feel
people
like
want.
strangers in their own country, with how horribly things have changed, and with the Prime Minister trying so hard to erase our memories. It's easy to forget how good things were and how much better they can be. You know, the most important job of any leader is to bring hope.
Yeah, it is
Hope
important. Yeah,
is what Canadians need now more than ever.
I want hope.
Hope is something
I have
that you
hope,
feel,
but
it's hard
a little desperate.
to picture it.
Do you?
So
feel
let me paint a
hope?
picture for you of students laughing and walking down safe streets to class, the distant drumming of hammers driving nails through Canadian lumber, and to yet another beautiful new Canadian
It's
home.
a nice thought.
Shopkeepers
I'll admit that, for
sweeping
sure.
clean storefronts at the end of another day, waving to seniors heading home with a car full of groceries and change in their pockets. As daylight fades to night, kids are heard
Come on,
pleading
Pierre.
for 10 more minutes of street hockey before bed, and then quiet. And a young couple sits on their front porch, soaking in the summer warmth. A Canadian flag hanging gently but proudly from the front of their house, with a cold drink in one hand and a paycheck in the other. They look into each other's eyes in a way that can only say, the hard work paid off. The sacrifices were worth it, because
Cheer for
finally,
that couple.
we're home.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Safe and sound, right? As we should be. Worrying about how we're going to pay for our oil bill. Have some break. It's got to turn around, guys. I believe it can.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is what it means to bring it home. These are our people. This is our country. This is our home. Your home. My home. Our home. Let's bring it home.
Let's bring it home, guys. Let's bring it home. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So that's Pierre Poilievre. I've had some people asking me about why there's not more of Pierre Poilievre's platform out there. It's out there. People can find out about it. That's it. So I thought tonight I'd bring that to you guys. And we did. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. I'm Ehren. This is Question Period Canada. Please like and subscribe. We're having fun here all the time, trying to make politics, which are important, but trying to make it a little bit more enjoyable. A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. That's what we're doing here. CBC, Global, CTV, forget those things. Tell your friends. Subscribe to me. I'll let you know about Canadian politics. It would seem like I'm on the side of the conservative, which I'm not. I'm just up for change. Anyways, I very much appreciate everybody watching tonight. It's been a lot of fun. I'm Ehren. Question Period Canada. We'll be back tomorrow. We're out for now.